On the 9th of May 1502, Columbus left Cádiz with his flagship Santa María and 3 other vessels. The ships were crewed by 140 men, including his brother Bartholomew as second in command and his son Fernando. He sailed to Asilah on the Moroccan coast to rescue Portuguese soldiers said to be besieged by the Moors. The siege had been lifted by the time they arrived, so the Spaniards stayed only a day and continued on to the Canary Islands. On the 15th of June, the fleet arrived at Martinique, where it lingered for several days. A hurricane was forming, so Columbus continued westward, hoping to find shelter on Hispaniola. He arrived at Santo Domingo on the 29th of June, but was denied port, and the new governor Francisco de Bobadilla refused to listen to his warning that a hurricane was approaching. Instead, while Columbus's ships sheltered at the mouth of the Rio Jaina, the first Spanish treasure fleet sailed into the hurricane. Columbus's ships survived with only minor damage, while 20 of the 30 ships in the governor's fleet were lost along with 500 lives, including that of Francisco de Bobadilla. Although a few surviving ships managed to straggle back to Santo Domingo, Aguja, the fragile ship carrying Columbus's personal belongings and his 4,000 pesos in gold was the sole vessel to reach Spain. The gold was his tenth, décimo, of the profits from Hispaniola, equal to 240,000 maravedis, guaranteed by the Catholic Monarchs in 1492. After a brief stop at Jamaica, Columbus sailed to Central America, arriving at the coast of Honduras on the 30th of July. Here Bartholomew found native merchants in a large canoe. On the 14th of August, Columbus landed on the continental mainland at Punta Caxinas, now Puerto Costilla, Honduras. He spent 2 months exploring the coasts of Honduras, Nicaragua, and Costa Rica, seeking a strait in the western Caribbean through which he could sail to the Indian Ocean. Sailing south along the Nicaraguan coast, he found a channel that led into Almirante Bay in Panama on the 5th of October. As soon as his ships anchored in Almirante Bay, Columbus encountered Nagabe people in canoes who were wearing gold ornaments. In January 1503, he established a garrison at the mouth of the Belian River. Columbus left for Hispaniola on the 16th of April. On the 10th of May he sighted the Cayman Islands, naming them Las Tortugas after the numerous sea turtles there. His ships sustained damage in a storm off the coast of Cuba. Unable to travel farther, on the 25th of June 1503 they were beached in St. Ann Parish, Jamaica. For 6 months Columbus and 230 of his men remained stranded on Jamaica. Diego Méndez de Segura, who had shipped out as a personal secretary to Columbus, and a Spanish shipmate called Bartolomé Flisco, along with 6 natives, paddled a canoe to get help from Hispaniola. The governor, Nicolas de Ovando y Caceres, detested Columbus and obstructed all efforts to rescue him and his men. In the meantime Columbus, Indiana, a desperate effort to induce the natives to continue provisioning him and his hungry men, won their favor by predicting a lunar eclipse for the 29th of February 1504, using Abraham Zacuto's astronomical charts. Despite the governor's obstruction, Christopher Columbus and his men were rescued on the 28th of June 1504, and arrived in Sanlúcar, Spain, on the 7th of November. Columbus had always claimed that the conversion of non-believers was one reason for his explorations, and he grew increasingly religious in his later years. Probably with the assistance of his son Diego and his friend the Carthusian monk Gaspar Gurricio, Columbus produced 2 books during his later years. A Book of Privileges, 1502, detailing and documenting the rewards from the Spanish crown to which he believed he and his heirs were entitled, and a Book of Prophecies, 1505, in which passages from the Bible were used to place his achievements as an explorer in the context of Christian eschatology. In his later years, Columbus demanded that the Crown of Castile give him his tenth of all the riches and trade goods yielded by the new lands, as stipulated in the capitulations of Santa Fe. Because he had been relieved of his duties as governor, the crown did not feel bound by that contract and his demands were rejected. After his death, his heirs sued the crown for a part of the profits from trade with America, as well as other rewards. This led to a protracted series of legal disputes known as the Plato's Colombinos, Colombian lawsuits.